So here we are driving my very own R34 Skyline GT-R, and I cannot believe my luck right now. This is a dream come true. I've wanted to drive one of these since they first came out in 1999 when I was working washing cars for a car magazine. I have driven one once before for about 20 meters. It was a managing director's car, so you can imagine how scared I was of crashing it. But today it's totally different because this is a hire car. Yes, for less than $500 you can have this car for the day. You do have to give it back. So let's talk about the car I have rented. It's an R34 and I'm not really sure what year, but it's definitely not a V-spec. I'm guessing it's one of the earlier ones, and if you can hear in the background, a lady keeps talking to me, and I don't know why. I have the sat-nav turned off, but yeah, she's squawking away every 5 minutes. But I don't care. This thing is sensational. This would be the perfect daily driver. It's no showroom queen. The rims on this are just, oh, they're just appalling. People just hit every curb in the city. Then there's the steering wheel. It's literally peeling away in my hands. But I wouldn't change a thing. I desperately want to buy this rental car because, well, in my eyes, it's perfect. It's been made to be driven. So the next thing, what do you do if you have an R34 GT-R in Tokyo? Well, the first thing I recommend is you get the hell out of Tokyo. There are some amazing roads to drive through the city, but there's also lots and lots of cops. So I spoke to a Nissan engineer and he told me about some of the roads just outside Tokyo, around 2 hours. But I'm not going to tell you where we are right now because this is one of his own personal favourites, so I'm not going to spill the beans. Of course today the weather is absolutely appalling. In fact, the small road we're driving now is actually being ravaged by a recent typhoon, which means it's closed. I have it to myself. It's quite fortuitous I'm driving the R34 today because just yesterday I spoke to one of the men who developed its famous RB26DETT engine, and he was talking to me about the gentleman's agreement because when this car came out it produced 206 kilowatts. Now that is exactly how much the R33 produced and the R32 produced, which doesn't make sense because this car is significantly quicker than both of those cars and 100 kilos heavier. So what Nissan did is they said that this car produced at least 206 kilowatts. At least. That's the bit you've got to focus on, because when owners eventually put these on dynos, yeah, it produced far, far more power. So I spoke to the engineer and he said, no, he said, we didn't go out to produce big amounts of power. He said, but we were very, very, very proud and pleased and surprised when some of the cars exceeded our power outputs. What an absolute liar. As you probably already know, the R34 Skyline GT-R arrived in 1999, and no, it wasn't sold in Australia. But in other markets, well, it was judged immediately the best GT-R ever made, and for good reason, because this thing was unbeatable across a road like this. And that's because, like the R32 on R33, it had a refined version of the Active Total Torque engineering system, ATESA, which has this uncanny ability of knowing where to shuffle the torque when. It can shuffle up to about 50% to the front axle. Then there's the HiCAS, the high capacity active controlled steering. Good memory, eh? And that used a four-wheel steering system to add extra agility in what is still a big car. One area where the R34 does lack is performance. You just have to admit it today. It feels nowhere near as quick as the R35 that replaced it, and that's because in the late 90s when it was introduced, 100 kilometers per hour took 4.8 seconds. Today's car, around 2.5. But I don't care. I don't care this is slower because I think this is more engaging, and part of that is down to this really nice slick shifting 6-speed manual. It's a joy to use, and it really gives you that level of engagement lacking on some of these modern cars with their fancy dual clutch gearboxes. I absolutely love this car. I could drive this R34 GT-R all day long, except I can't because off camera I've just been questioned as part of a murder inquiry. I think it's time to go home.